Second startled me every time. All right.
Great, thanks, Justin. So welcome everybody to the Heat Pump Buyer's Guide. I am Aidan Leary. I'm Customer Care, Marketing and Communications Manager at Belmont Light. With me tonight are my colleague Ben Thaverge. He's our Energy Specialist at Belmont Light, and also Justin Bates, who's a Program Specialist at Abode Energy Management, which is our partner in the heat pump program. As Justin noted earlier, we will be taking questions towards the end of the presentation, so you can feel free to type them into the chat. We'll take them, one by one as they come. And also, as Justin noted, the webinar will be recorded, and we'll be posting it on our website and sending it out to attendees as well. With that, I'll kick it over to Ben so we can talk a little bit about Belmont Light and heat pumps.
Thanks, Aidan. All right, let's dive in. Currently on the back. So as a little bit of a history, Belmont Light started having heat pump rebate back in 2014, beginning with a grant program we had with the DOER. We had an update to our rebate program in 2019 with the Heat Smart Belmont campaign. And that was a significant shift in the previous way of just having a rebate. This time we had a selected installer that offered discounts on air source heat pump. And we were able to leverage some promoted benefits in terms of marketing materials other than talking about heat pumps to the public. We were able to hone the message a little bit better. As a result of that, and a result of all of the Heat Smart programs, there's the Heat Smart Alliance, which continues to be a resident-led initiative of all of the Heat Smart towns and has spread to other towns that are now part of the Heat Smart Alliance. In 2020, as a result of the Heat Smart program that we thought was really good from the education standpoint and the peer-to-peer networking in Heat Smart program, we established the relationship with Abode Energy Management that they offer through their specialists assistance throughout the rebate, not just the rebate process, but also the beginning process, the investigation, the asking all sorts of questions and finding out what is a heat pump? Can it benefit me? What's the cost? Is this situation going to work for my home? Also offering a qualified contractor list. This list is not limited, it changes. More contractors get added to it. I always say it's a starting point. I believe our list has at least 24 on there, and even grows, like I said. They also offer quality assurance, and in terms of after the install, they're doing part of the rebate process is a install QA form, quality assurance form that has to be filled out by the installers. And as part of it, and for words that I have heard over and over again, is it does allow for peace of mind and for both the homeowners and Belmont Light in terms of this inevitable wealth of knowledge and breadth of knowledge from these specialists. There we go. Just to kind of show it by the numbers, through specifically, this is with the heat pump program that we've established with Abode. So we only had a couple of months in 2020 with Abode, so there was very few. But each year, as we keep going with the program, the number of consultations has gone up, and the number of hours spent with each of our customers has gone up. The nice thing about the program, and something I always reiterate to everyone, is that the heat pump specialists are there to talk to you throughout the entire process. Use them as much as you'd like. They will respond by setting up a meeting or by doing email exchanges. We see these hours, it's all logged. So I see this and it keeps growing. And as part of that, what we saw a significant change is the number of rebates. This is the number of customers who are accessing the rebates has gone up, and the average system size has also increased. So you're seeing in last year, the average system size was around 2.5 to 2.5 tons, which is services around a house. And if I remember correctly, my math is going correctly, a space anywhere around 1,000 to 2,000 square feet. So more customers are looking at the full replacement option as instead of just looking at 1 or 2 room systems. So and next, yeah. Actually, I'll hand it off to Justin to describe the program.
I appreciate that, Ben. I appreciate the context, and I think you identifying the fact that people are um, more often now looking at heat pumps as whole home solutions to their heating and cooling needs is a really um, kind of cool aspect of this program, right? Because just even a few years ago, heat pumps were such a new technology and kind of misunderstood. But as we start to learn more about them, as we start to kind of break the maybe the barrier of misinformation that says heat pumps can't cool down to very low temperatures, even negative temperatures, we start to see people turn to these solutions as again a way to kind of replace their boiler, their furnace, their electric baseboards, whatever it might be, and use this clean heating and cooling technology as their solution. So I appreciate that. Um, my name is Justin Bates. Just to reiterate, I work for Abode Energy Management. I'm excited to be here tonight with the Belmont Light team to electrify your home's heating and cooling systems, right? I want to thank Aiden and Ben. They are wonderful partners, and we are proud to be a part of their program. And again, looking back to 2020, we feel like we've made some really valuable kind of contributions to this electrification effort that's being stewarded by the Belmont Light team. Um, so today we're going to be talking about heat pumps, right? We'll cover the technology, the application in your home, the generous rebates to electrify that Belmont offers, the rebate process itself. We're also going to suggest some different questions to ask your installer, and we'll have some time for Q&A, like Aiden mentioned at the end there. Just to again highlight it for the people who have joined, right? Q&A is at the bottom. You can type in any and all questions on heat pumps in the program. We'll have some time at the end to answer some of those questions. But I will just preface it by saying the more technical and nuanced, almost project-specific questions will be much better answered by my heat pump specialist colleagues. Right through Belmont, you all have access to no-cost consultations with Abode's heat pump specialists who have decades of HVAC experience and will be able to answer, again, any and all questions that you may have. The summer is always busy. We're entering into the heating season, which is just as busy, right? So if you're looking to the fall and winter to install, I would recommend scheduling a consultation. There is more consultations coming online within the next day in preparation for this webinar. So be on the lookout for those availability there. And I'll, at a few points in our presentation tonight, share the link to the Belmont website where you can sign up for a consultation on this point. So let's dive in, right? What are heat pumps? Heat pumps have gained, again, like I said, a lot of recognition in the last few years. They're a highly efficient electric alternative to your home's heating and cooling needs. And I think it's always helpful to put their efficiency in the context of what we are familiar with, right? So most modern boilers, thinking of boilers and furnaces, most modern boilers are over 90% efficient, right? Which sounds pretty good. That means for every 1 unit of power consumed, they will produce just under 1 unit of heating power. Let's call it. So it's not a one for one. They are losing some energy in their kind of combustion process. Furnaces, they fall in the range of 85 to 95% efficient. So again, they're losing energy. Heat pumps are different. Heat pumps I'll actually identify two of the most popular models from different manufacturers. Um, they maintain 410 and 610% efficiency at 47 degrees Fahrenheit, so a rated temperature. Comparing that to 85 and 90, that's a huge difference. Now, heat pumps don't always maintain such high. They're called COPs, but they are always above one, right? They are known and they are well loved for that efficiency. They're just more efficient. Um, so again, why are heat pumps awesome, right? What are some benefits? So we talked about high efficiency heating and cooling. Heat pumps are also not burning fossil fuels at your home, right? At that source. So there's no byproduct. And newer models can actually capture airborne contaminants, including dust, smoke, etc. Really, there's kind of new line of filters being installed in our heat pumps today, and looking down the road, they're just going to get better. Um, they can also be less expensive to operate than traditional fossil fuel systems, right? Especially oil and propane. They're on par with natural gas, or actually slightly above, slightly below. But homeowners who actually install air source heat pumps get cooling too. Remember, it's a heating and a cooling machine. So homeowners can expect to save 30 to 50% on cooling costs when compared to a standard central air conditioning system, right? So you're getting that efficiency both in the heating and in the cooling season. Additionally, kind of the last piece there, when we're pairing it with a clean power supply as the grid is greening, maybe you have solar panels on your home or you've tapped into community electricity, the environmental benefits are even greater, right? Let's go. There we go. So heat pumps, right? I want to talk about two main forms tonight that you'll be seeing as you start to explore this world. They are ductless and ducted heat pumps. And just for some quick background, right? Just for kind of the technological glance. Uh, Air source heat pumps use electricity to power a compressor and transfer heat using the same idea behind a refrigerator, right? In winter, it transfers heat indoors, right? In summer, it transfers heat outdoors. Think of it as an air conditioning kind of that can also work in reverse. Um, Typically, you'll see an outdoor condenser that looks something like that central AC unit, kind of maybe a big block, or we have those now rectangular shaped condensers outside. And those are typically connected to either an air handler that's located in an attic or basement, or it can be connected to what are called mini splits, right? It's those rectangular white boxes or floor units or overhead units, right? There's a diversity of options. I actually saw somebody who had installed a picture frame mini split unit. So it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a picture frame that has a little vent underneath it, and that's supplying hot and cool air to the room. So it's a little decorative. Um, so real quick, right? The top right-hand corner, you have a wall hung unit. This is kind of what we're probably most familiar with. It can be easily hung on exterior walls and sometimes interior walls, depending on the situation. It typically requires the least amount of kind of construction. You can also get a floor mount unit that looks a little bit more like a radiator, at least in where it sits, not necessarily design. These are actually becoming increasingly popular and are a great alternative to wall hung units, right? And then lastly, we see a ceiling cassette in that bottom right-hand corner there. And these, simply put, can be mounted into your ceiling, right? Um, the bottom picture is actually a newer product that does a better job of fitting in between joists in the ceiling, which was previously an issue in kind of terms of fitting some of the ceiling cassettes of the past. Um, but I think that highlights that there are constantly new technologies coming out, making this technology very practical and easy to install. Um, let's look at some ducted units, right? That was ductless, but this is actually a ducted solution, right? And we get a lot of these questions. What if I have a central AC? What if I don't want kind of those big units in my rooms? What is the alternative, right? Um, this ducted indoor units is kind of the solution, right? These systems can distribute hot or cold air using your existing ductwork. There are considerations that go into that decision, right? You want to be able to test your ducts, seal them if necessary to prevent leakage and maintain the high efficiency nature of a heat pump. But today's contractors, and especially contractors on our participating contractor list, are absolutely able to discuss your unique home characteristics and how a ducted solution might fit. You'll typically see two distinct type of ducted units, right? Either compact or centrally ducted. Compact ducted is usually more zonal based, right? Where we have them satisfying the heating and cooling needs of maybe one floor or a wing of the house using a much smaller air handler. About 2 to 4 rooms is typically kind of the rule of thumb. Whereas centrally ducted units distribute heat and cool air through ductwork um, over a large area, right? Sometimes the entirety of the house. We started this webinar by talking kind of whole home solutions. This is a frequent kind of use case of when we install ducted indoor units. However, that's not to say that ductless units can't also satisfy a whole home solution. So again, your contractor is going to be able to size and propose equipment that fits your home's need. And actually, before we move on, and I brought it up at the beginning, but I always like to emphasize this because this is still kind of a swirling around the space, the heat pump space, right? In cold climates like Massachusetts, high efficiency cold climate air source heat pumps can and do provide 100% of a home's heating and cooling needs, right? We're dispelling any and all myths and being clear about that. Another right, common myth, um, they can't heat homes without a backup heating source, right? Both the ability to provide 100% of the home's heating and cooling needs and providing it without a backup heating source myths is what they are. Today's cold climate heat pumps have the ability to heat down to negative 15 degrees. Abode was actually fortunate enough to take a tour of a Mitsubishi training facility where we heard advancements coming maybe down to negative 30 degrees. Right. So these systems, these equipment is well positioned and definitely able to satisfy your home's heating and cooling needs. Um, yeah. Um, and we can definitely answer some more questions that dive into that at the end if you all have them. But again, dispelling myths, today's units have enhanced heating capacity and should be left running under all outdoor conditions. So let's talk about Belmont's rebate process specifically here and highlighting the Belmont team. We have a very robust rebate program that you all can tap into. And I actually want to even start off by taking a step away from heat pumps and highlighting Belmont's weatherization program, because that's going to be one of our recommendations at the beginning of every consultation, right? Um, Belmont Light offers no cost, comprehensive energy assessments to all residential customers, right? As part of the assessment, Energy Advisor will conduct a thorough analysis of your home's characteristics, your home's energy use, right? They will be able to make recommendations about weatherization, insulation, air sealing measures that will actually be able to tighten your home and reduce the heating load that is necessary for a heat pump to satisfy to kind of heat and cool your space, right? Um, Highlighting the incentive structure, they're breaking up into two categories, right? Air sealing and insulation. Eligible customers can receive up to $500 of air sealing costs and $1,000 of insulation costs. So that's $1,500 of cost right there that is embedded into this program that you can use to tighten your home, to really shore it up so that we are kind of minimizing the size of the heat pump that you all need in your homes. All right, a little tangent there. I just like highlighting good programs, right? And that's one of that's a great one that Belmont offers. But going back to heat pumps, um, You can get started actually, like I highlighted, with a no-cost consultation through Abode with one of my colleagues. You'll gain a better understanding of how heat pumps work. You'll receive guidance on the best solutions for your home and also how to work with contractors, right? And kind of give you tips and tricks of the trade there. We recommend that all homeowners receive at least 3 quotes. Um, this is just to ensure that you're getting the best and most cost-effective solution for your home, right? Abode does host, and we've talked about it a few times now, a participating contractor list, which can be used to start your installer search. This will be found at the provided link on the next slide here. Um, uh, and highlighting that 3 quotes, right? Through Belmont Light, Abode offers a no-cost quote comparison report, which can provide homeowners with a system comparison, right, for cost effectiveness, for impact on heating and cooling, environmental benefits, among other data points there. And we do this by kind of modeling a home, or modeling your home, right? You submit some home characteristic data, your kind of previous past heating or fuel usage, and we can actually almost virtually install the proposed systems in your virtual home to give you a better understanding and better idea of how these systems will function. Um, so once you feel comfortable with the design, once you've asked all the questions, um, once you select that installer and complete that installation, you are kind of home free at this point, right? There are some program requirements, including it must be NEEP listed. Contractors must file the relevant permits. They must submit an install QA form, must submit a rebate application. But again, this can all be found at the website link here. And I, before move on to that link, want to highlight the different incentives that Belmont Light offers when we're talking about heat pumps, right? So usually when we're talking about heat pumps and rebates, it's a per ton basis. So, like Ben mentioned at the beginning of the webinar here, we're looking at an average of 2.6 ton system per home, right? So that's you can kind of do the math on your own there. But if you go bigger, if you need that whole home solution, you're going to need a bigger system, and you're going to get a bigger rebate. Um, there's also adders, I like to call them, right? $1,000 for low income and small municipal rate customers. And we also have $1,000 for customers that actually remove their old fossil fuel based system, or install a heat pump while performing a gut renovation or new construction. So there's different ways to kind of you're earning this money to get the money that you've earned in this adoption of heat pumps. Um, and again, this kind of robust rebate structure here is just an incentive on top of the comfort, on top of the environmental benefits, and on top of those cost savings that you will incur when adopting and installing heat pumps. So here it is. We'll take a quick breather. I know I'm covering a lot here, and I'll pause so y'all can take out your smart devices, internet capable devices, and navigate. Um, but I do want to answer one question that we sometimes get, and that's why is there kind of a lot to involve to get the rebate, right? There's a few steps, and this is because this is a pretty big life decision, right? And Belmont Light takes that incredibly serious and has built a roster of organizations to kind of fill very specific needs in your heat pump journey, right? Abode Energy Management are experts in heat pumps. We, and meaning my colleagues there, are technical experts in the technology. They can kind of answer and guide you to the right solutions for your home. Energy New England, which is the rebate processing organization that you would deal with when obtaining a Belmont Light rebate. It may seem like a small piece of the puzzle, but there's a lot that goes into making sure that these systems are installed right and that you are paid out appropriately. So they will be well suited, and they are well suited to kind of handling your rebate journey. So again, we have the website up, abode.energy/BMLD. And that QR code, again, these slides will be sent out after the webinar, so you can check them out. But let's move on, and we're nearing the Q&A, but there's a few things that I just want to highlight before we do get there, right? And these are our working with installers tips and tricks. The first one, and I think if I could choose anything that y'all walk away with today, it's request a manual J or load calculation. Always, always, always request them. This is how HVAC installers measure your home's heating and cooling needs and determines what size system is right for your home, right? They'll input values on your walls, on your basement, on your attics, on your floors, your windows, the size of the rooms. There's a lot of variables that affect how air either infiltrates a home or leaks out of a home. Um, and a lot of variables that affect how a system will perform, and these are incredibly important to ensuring your long-term comfort with a well-designed and well-performing system. Right. Number two is consider operating your electrical panel. Most homes can fully electrify on an existing 100 amp panel with some simple planning up front. And this is without sacrificing any of the benefits of electrification, right? Keeping your panel and avoiding a panel upgrade can save potentially thousands of dollars and months of time. But you want to ensure that your panel is 100 amps and that this planned heat pump installation will be covered by the kind of capacity left on your panel there. So have that conversation with your installer. Number three, review the location of the units and piping, right? I'm sure you've all seen, again, the maybe the block condenser or the maybe sleek and stylish rectangular one. They're typically piping or white, usually kind of plastic coverings that spiral out or kind of spider web out from that condenser. It's important that these systems satisfy your home's feel, right? You want to make sure you have a say in where and what these look like after installation. It's also important to note that outdoor units can be loud. They can cause vibrations. There are industry standards that all heat pumps must maintain, so they're not incredibly loud. But being conscientious about placement is important. Um, and I do like to tell a quick story here. Um, back in the day, my next door neighbor was one of the first people in the neighborhood to install a central AC system, right? And you could hear that thing turning on from a mile away, right? There would be a kind of a big slam, and you could almost feel the fan whirring and speeding up to the desired um, setting. But heat pumps aren't like that. They are going to be less obtrusive, less noisy. Nothing like my neighbor there. Definitely ruined a few nights' sleep, but I'm still not holding on to that. I'll tell you that. The last one that I'll leave you with, right, is confirming assistance with the rebate process. Just want to make sure that your installer is familiar with Belmont's requirements. If you use a participating contractor, list contractor, which again, you are not required to do, they will have an understanding of the program and Abode's expectations of their assistance throughout that process. All right. So we're at the fun FAQ. I gathered three to kind of start us off here. I know I've been talking a lot, but last little point, I swear, right? It's a question about what does set it and leave it mean, and what does that have to do with heat pumps? And I'll just make an analogy to kind of driving a car, right? I like to say, think you're on I-90, the Mass Pike, right? And you get on in Worcester and you want to cruise to Boston, right? It's a 50 miles, something like that. You're not going to get off at every off ramp and then on at every on ramp. Not fuel efficient. The acceleration is not healthy for the car, right? Heat pumps work the same way. When you set the temperature, you can leave it, right? Heat pumps work best in the background. Um, and that's kind of where they're designed to be. And we can cover a few other questions here, but I guess maybe Aiden, I'll throw it to you if we have some questions ready to go, and we can go from there.
Sure. So we just had two right now. The first one was, are we talking specifically about air source heat pumps? So I don't know if it's Justin or Ben who wants to take that one.
I think
I would.
it's so this is so say I think this is specifically regards to air source heat pumps. I guess I shouldn't speak for Abode in this case, but their expertise more lies in air source heat pumps. And obviously the question kind of is implying about ground source heat pumps. Where Belmont Light doesn't state at all clearly regarding geothermal. If anyone wants to discuss a geothermal system or ground source system, we're more than happy to include that in the program and work with Abode. I think you guys have somebody who
Yeah,
knows a little bit about it.
well, it's exciting, right? It's exciting. You always want to feel out if the your Belmont Light will offer that rebate. We are well designed and well positioned to be able to help you kind of explore ground source heat pumps. We've seen an increase in these installations throughout the Massachusetts area. And there are different considerations, right? You're going to want to figure out if you're going to drill um, kind of a boring hole, or if you're going to lay down the piping necessary and a horizontal space. There are different considerations when you're talking about ground source versus air source heat pumps. But like Ben is saying, come talk to Abode. We are well positioned to be able to talk to either.
Great, and then I'm gonna just hop one question because there's a kind of a follow-up question about geothermal. This person they're still interested in heat pumps, but they say might be out of their reach financially. Are there any serious trends downward in geothermal?
Not, I mean, I spoke to a geothermal contractor a couple of months ago, and it was my understanding they in Belmont, the Belmont area, or the within the what they call it within the 495 belt, it's very difficult to install geothermal systems. Um, it's they're actually the contractor that I was speaking with is doing a lot in New York, and they're trying to branch into the Massachusetts area, and they're starting with the easier currently right now, which is outside the 495 belt. It's more specifically about the bedrock and the geological aspects than the costs or anything. The difference between air source and geothermal, the biggest one a lot of people say is the upfront cost on geothermal is a lot higher, which is why I said discuss. We'll work on a potentially a slightly different rebate structure than what's offered. And the other aspect is that but on the flip side, the operational costs for a geothermal is typically lower than an air source heat pump. So you're looking at because the geo is a little warmer and it maintains a better temperature all year round, whereas in the winter in the New England air source heat pumps are trying to gather as much heat as possible from the cold air, which is still there up until absolute zero. So it is still there. It's just those air source ones are working a lot harder in the winter than the geothermal systems are in the winter. So the efficiency, what Justin referred to, the COP on a geothermal system is a lot higher.
And absolutely, I completely agree, Ben. I'll piggyback there and highlight one other important piece, right? You talked about geothermal kind of having that higher upfront cost, but lower operational cost because of the efficiency. Then they also geothermal heat pumps, the let's call it underground infrastructure lasts for up to 50 years. So the longevity, they may need less replacement, or they just may be able to last longer. The actual heat pump itself has probably like a 20-25 year life expectancy, but the actual underground infrastructure has a good lasting power there. So there's those trade-offs when you're considering whether you want to kind of go that full geothermal route or stick with air source heat pumps.
Great. So next question. There's two somewhat related questions, but first one, is there a space saving in my utility room if I replace my furnace with a central ducted?
Um, I would say that they are similar. I mean, like if we're talking maybe a oil or propane system, you're not going to need the tank. Um, you can remove the tank. However, the actual like the system itself, what is where the combustion is occurring, I would say an air handler and that is pretty similar size.
Okay.
But yeah,
Next
yeah.
question. Sorry, did you have something?
There's it, and you can also, right, we talked at the beginning, you can either install in like a basement or an attic. And the attic, right, you can't typically do that with an oil or propane based or even natural gas based system. So that's an additional kind of space saving if an attic installation is a kind of a realistic option for you.
So next question. It's about how best to reuse existing ductwork.
Yeah. Feel free to chime in. I would say if we're reusing existing ductwork, just make sure that your installer is checking the I don't know, status, the leakage. You want to get that tested, which is easy to do. You want to make sure that you're tightening it up and kind of filling in any places that where air can kind of seep out of. Um, yeah, I would probably that's yeah, probably the biggest consideration there.
Okay, next question is talking about costs. Can we talk about break down the cost between installation and operation?
Hmm. Um, yeah, I guess Justin had referred to it in install cost. It does vary a little bit. We have seen, I've since I've been working with Belmont Light and seeing the program, I have seen a cost pre and post pandemic. There is definitely an increase in the pricing. Um, and it's something that I know Abode is keenly aware of in the amount of quotes that they have see. But because heat pumps are coming up in the market, the contractors are aware of competition. There is, you can probably play them against each other a little bit.
Oh,
Uh,
oh,
um, so I won't say what the last estimate I had was in a pricing was pre-pandemic, so I don't want to say anything in terms of what your estimated prices are looking at. That's definitely something you can have a discussion with a specialist because they're going to have more accurate numbers than I would. But in terms, and something that Justin not failed to mention, but I kind of omitted accidentally, is that we allow, and that why there's a difference for our rebate program is we allow all of our gas customers who are eligible, which most customers are, if they want to access the Mass Save rebates and the Mass Save programs. And we want you to maximize your savings, which includes bringing down that price. So that's either there's multiple routes. There's either there's a whole home route with the Mass Save program, which is the $10,000 that everyone hears about. There's also the partial, which is, I believe, around $1,200 a ton. And Belmont Lights is in addition to Belmont Lights rebate for gas customers is an addition to that. Now, when I say those numbers out loud and you go back and you check the slides, you're going to see, wait a minute, there's a difference. Why is there a difference? I do want to reiterate that Mass Save has millions of customers, and Belmont Light has about 10,000 customers that we're working with. So our rebates amounts are slightly different. They are on par with around everyone else's rebate programs. And we do try and make sure that we do evaluate every year to make sure that we're doing the best we can and that we're on top of it. We consult with both Abode and Energy New England in terms of rebate processing and everything to make sure that we are accurate when we do our budgeting for the year. Because of Abode's natural state in terms of working with both municipal light plants like Belmont Light and as a consultant with the Mass Save program and the Mass Save like National Grid and Eversource, they are actually very well versed in navigating the Mass Save rebate process and the Belmont Light rebate process. And like Justin said, it is a necessary evil for all of the contractors to understand that as well. So if there's any questions at all about the Mass Save rebate process, have those questions and have that discussion with the specialist and your contractor. They will be able to do that. Any questions about the Belmont Light process, email us, give us a call, stop by our booth at the farmers market. We'll be happy to walk you through it and try and figure out if there's a question that we can answer regarding our rebate process. Yep.
And I appreciate you. My omission of the Mass Save for gas customers, then I appreciate that. And again, I want to emphasize that we are we deal with heat pumps throughout the state, and we're familiar with both the Belmont Light structure, the Mass Save structure. So we can definitely assist you in making sure that you're kind of checking all of the necessary boxes. I will identify that Belmont and Mass Save currently use different qualified product lists. So you just want to, if you're like, let's call it double dipping, right? If you're double dipping into both programs, you want to make sure that the equipment kind of satisfies both. And then just the last thing, and Ben, you had mentioned it, that question that started this discussion, but right, we are definitely in an age where prices for heat pumps are going up. Some contractors are kind of adjusting for the rebate amount, but I think Ben said it well of making contractors and installers kind of play against each other. And as from the consumer, you are in the ultimate position to make the decision of which installer to go with. And you gain the most power when you interact with the most installers and kind of gain the most information, right? So it's sometimes a lengthy process, but the cost savings when you're getting 3, maybe to 5 different proposals, you are seeing the kind of differences in real time there. So I would just kind of reiterate the fact that get as many quotes as you feel comfortable with.
Great, and we just had one last question about whether there's a list of geothermal providers.
Yeah. So actually the best resource there's a link to it on our website, and the best resource I can say is that's a very informative website is the Mass Clean Energy Center. The Mass CEC has a website called goclean.masscec.com. They have resources on air source heat pumps, geothermal heat pumps, and the EVs, weatherization, anything and everything you can in terms of the aspect of going clean, not just resources about education, but also they have a section on installers. And you can put in the zip code 02578 and put and select ground source heat pumps, and it will generate a list of contractors that service the Belmont area. That you do the same with heat, you do the same with solar, with you can't do it with heat pumps. Oh, you can do it with heat pumps. They redid that. They used to not. So take back my words. You can do it with heat pumps as well. So like Justin said, you do not have to go with anybody that is not on the our qualifying contractor list. It's a starting point. These are just contractors that are more familiar with the process. I always say it is a starting point. You can talk to a couple of them, but we want you to feel comfortable with the contractor you finally do go with. It is your choice. So.
Sorry about that. So one last question just popped up. I understand that 400 amp panels are very difficult to get right now. Should we expect to be heavying up to 400 amps or is 200 amps sufficient? If we have plans or hopes for additional electric infrastructure like solar power or electric car vehicle charger, should we simply heavy up as part of the heat pump process?
I would say just kind of gut answer to that 400 amps. And this is, I would supplement all this information. You can either your HVAC installer and electrician can kind of do an electrical capacity or calculating the electrical load capacity for a home, and it can also factor in future installations. So whether it be solar, whether it be EV, you can kind of position yourself best on how to on what your panel will look like. I would say the 400 amp panel typically is reserved for larger homes. Like we're talking about 3,500 square feet and above. I would say the 200 amp can cover again like a typical home's load plus a heat pump. And then when we're talking about more electric technologies, that 200 amp is going to be in, I would say, almost all cases sufficient to be able to handle that electrical capacity there. So I would say 400 might be too much. But again, if it brings you peace of mind, I would talk about this with your installers or have an electrician in to kind of detail that load capacity for you there.
And I would just add, if you are going to be looking at an upgrade above the 200 amp service, make sure that your electrician is talking with Belmont Light about it, because there's definitely some capacity issues for our system as well. But it does look like that's the end of the questions, at least in the chat, unless anyone had any last minute ones, which I don't see coming in.
And maybe I could just answer. I know we didn't really talk about backup systems, but just to fill, I always have questions to fill airtime here. So maybe just adding this in if it is helpful when people are considering heat pump installs. That second question, right, is do I need a backup system? Backup systems, right? Heat pumps can cover your home's heating load to low temperatures, especially whole home solutions. However, at Abode, we understand people are still skeptical. We are human beings. We're skeptical by nature, right? And we can be worried about whether or not this new technology will kind of cover the load to a low degree. And we believe that redundancy is sometimes okay, right? Especially because we know heat pumps will satisfy all of the loads for whole home applications, right? Partial home systems, you can supplement existing heating systems and you can take a lot of the load that was once dedicated to a propane, to an oil, to a natural gas system and divert it to that heat pump. But again, backup systems are this funny little issue right now that we're all dealing with. But I would recommend um, when we are exploring these options, talking to a heat pump specialist, because they will, I think, ensure you that heat pumps are able to capture and fulfill all of a home's heating and cooling needs there. But I just want to address that before we go away, because that's sometimes a question people leave these conversations with.
Great. so believe that is it for
Nope.
tonight. Oh,
There's one more question that popped in that actually
I didn't see
should.
it. Sorry.
Nope, it just popped in.
So yeah, follow-up question. I understand that running the heat pump can result in a higher per month utility bill. Is that true?
The simple answer is yes. Is that yes, your electric bill will be going up because you are using more electricity. In the case of a lot of people who have central air systems or window units in the summer will actually see a reduction in their bill. Will see a slight reduction in their bills because, as Justin said, you're setting it and forgetting. That set it and forget it mode kind of keeps the house at a better, maintains the temperature better, and is able to keep the house at a cool, comfortable. Excuse me, that's the word I'm looking for. Comfortable. And it actually, people will see a slight reduction in what their bills, because they're not the ACs aren't, the central ACs will do that, what Justin said, with they'll do that kick on and kind of go off, kick on and kind of go off. The other thing to promote is the fact that Belmont Light is as a public power utility, our rates are a lot more stable than IOU rates, which were investor-owned utilities, and which is like National Grid's gas prices. We do update our rates every about 3 to 5 years is when we do that assessment and do our rate changes. And those rate changes are at a slower rate typically than looking at other utilities. So customers who do flip to air source heat pumps will see that. But if they do look at their costs of what they would have spent on gas, about right now, like Justin said, the operational cost is about the same, if a little bit more with the electric rates. But you flip from oil or propane as your primary heating fuel to electric, you are looking at significant savings, because those prices have been high the past couple of winters, and they do look to be, as forecasts are saying, going higher. So that savings is you're going to be seeing savings in your total energy expenditure, even though you might see your electric bills increase.
Great, thanks, Ben. With that, I think we can conclude for the night. But as you see, the links are right here on the screen, as well as an email to reach out to Ben and myself, energyresources@belmontlight.com. But I wanted to thank everybody. Thank you to Ben and Justin for speaking tonight. Thank you for all the great questions, and have a great night.
Night, everyone.